So I wanted to talk about the relationship between height and the length of your arms and the speed at which you hit. So it's a little bit different for tall people and short people, assuming that the tall people have long arms, which they typically do, and the short people have shorter arms, which they typically do. We have two different strategies for long arms and shorter arms. And if we have longer arms, we want to take advantage of torque. We want to take advantage of the length of our arm. If we have shorter arms, we want to take advantage of the conservation of momentum, or to put it more simply, we want to take advantage of the speed of our arm swing. So here's some notes on tall and longer armed hitters. We take advantage of torque. The torque is the length of your arm multiplied by the force. And that's basically going to generate power on the ball, to put it simply. And so the more L you have, the length of your arm, the more torque you can generate. So if you're a tall player with long arms, this is what you're optimizing. L, length of your arm. If we want to consider baseball, and we want to imagine like a normal bat versus like, the little mini bat that you get in the gift shop, which bat is going to hit the ball farther? We all know that the normal long size bat is going to hit the ball farther. And to finish talking about the long arm situation, you can try to increase your swing speed if you want. But the only thing about trying to increase your swing speed to the max if you're a tall player with very long arms is that you're fighting your own torque when you pull back to hit. So now let's talk about shorter players with shorter arms. A shorter player is going to take advantage of conservation of momentum. So the mass times the velocity of your arm and the mass times the velocity of the ball is going to conserve through our actions. So if we did the mass times the velocity plus the mass times velocity before, it's going to equal the mass times velocity plus the mass times velocity after. So if we're a shorter player, we need to maximize that velocity. And this is a little misleading because we're not really maximizing the velocity of our hand at the end of our swing. We're maximizing the rotational velocity of our shoulder. And so basically a shorter player needs to be able to rotate their shoulder faster than a taller player. So the conservation of momentum, it dictates both scenarios, whether you're tall or you're short. And so if we look at this case, this is a long arm versus a short arm. And we're going to pretend that both of these arms have the same rotational speed, which is that right there. That's the speed of our rotation right there. So if a longer arm and a shorter arm both have the same rotational speed, actually the longer arm is going to have a faster translational speed. And your translational speed is the straightforward speed of an object at the very end of the object in rotation. If two objects rotate at the same speed, the end of the object on the longer object is going to be traveling faster than the end of the object on a shorter object. That's why the taller person with longer arms can swing their shoulders slower and get more of a velocity at the end of their arm. Whereas if a shorter player swings their arm with the same, rotates their shoulder with the same velocity, because their arm is shorter, they're gonna have a slower velocity at the end of their arm. So a shorter player needs to increase their shoulder's rotational speed through the hit. A taller player doesn't need to rotate their shoulder as fast because they can take advantage of the length of their arm. So to finish off this comparison, I want to compare Phil Dahlhauser, who's like 6'9", to the Swedish team, Alman and Elvig, and we can look at both of them hitting. They're both pretty tall, but they're not as tall as Phil Dahlhauser. And so what we could see, the difference between Dahlhauser and those two is that Dahlhauser does not rotate his body and his shoulder nearly as fast as the Swedish team. Which is not to say that he doesn't rotate his body and shoulder fast. He does. He just doesn't do it nearly as hard and as fast as the Swedish team. If we look at the Swedish team, when they go up to hit, they really, when we're hitting in the air, we charge our body back, right? We charge our core and our arm back as far as we can, like that, right? The more we charge our body back in tension, because we're creating tension in our core and we're creating tension in our arm, the more power and rotational speed we can generate through the hit. And so I think Phil Dahlhauser is a good example of someone who's really tall that does not charge their hit as much as a very good player who is shorter than he is. I think he's the best example of a tall player that takes advantage of his arm length when he hits. Also, when you get really tall, right? When you get up to be that tall, the bigger and taller you are, the harder it is to charge your body in getting ready to hit, and the harder it is to discharge your arm into the hit, because you're working with more length, which is the torque principle, and you're working with more mass. So when you have to rotate more length and more mass, it's harder to rotate your body if you're dealing with more length and more mass. But if you're shorter, it is easier to rotate your body back and forth. So if you're shorter, it's easier to rotate back here and it's easier to rotate forward. If you're a taller person, it's a little bit harder to do that, but you don't need to, because you could take advantage of your arm length. So check out these clips. The first hitter is going to be Phil Dahlhauser, and then the second hitters are going to be the Swedish team. Their names are Alman and Elvig.
Oh, belter from Dahlhauser. Look at it, but the line from Dahlhauser didn't front him, didn't get in front of that power. Good dig from Patterson. Dahlhauser's going to have a swing. And he doesn't miss from there. He's good at 201.
Player in the world, and that probably his passing is a little suspect, but not that I've recognised it. Oh, that's a great recovery too, Rosenthal's spike. Oh!
Yeah, almost gets there.
Nice spike from Dalhouser. So steep and so close to the net. How did you defend against that? Oh, huge blow still in play. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. If it goes to Rogers, he'll block line. If it goes to Dalhouser, he's going to try and stop him cross court. Great work, great play, super rally. Rogers on the job in terms of covering. And then a reactionary play from
Benedict Sagstetter. There's the jump set. There's the option ball. Doesn't manage to get the penetration because of the delay.
Come on with the jump set. No one up for Helvig, and that is the jump set.
Getting dizzy just watching Sweden at the moment. Great thing. Hit the block, so has to come. And of course, the ball from Oman on the hard-driven hit was popped straight onto the table.
We just spoke about. Long goes down the middle. Droga takes it. There's a swing. And Helvig able to take the attack, but play on. Jump set over to Aman, and he gets the...
Aman jump set. Helvig.
Adrian Carambola, Gator dig, perfect by Aman, open net swing, oh dear. Yahtzee! David Aman. With both Sweden and the ref, and David Aman.
Big point here, Foreman takes it on single-handedly.
Rossi again abandoning the option, leaving Aman